You're watching the morning news on Global Edmonton.
Very few cancers are easy to screen for and prevent before they ever develop. Cervical cancer, though, is one. To mark National Cervical Cancer Awareness Week, resident doctors from the U of A are hosting free walk-in clinics at various locations in Edmonton. Joining us now with more is Dr. Alicia Long and Dr. Christa Aubrey. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. So this is an interesting concept. It's not new. First of all, let's talk about what exactly a pap smear is.
So a pap smear is just a test done by either your family doctor or your gynecologist. It's a pelvic exam that takes less than a minute. They take a small sample of cervical cells and look under the microscope to detect pre-cancerous changes. And from there, they can, prevent any future cervical cancer that might develop.
And I mean, obviously, testing for cancers is so important. Do you not see a lot of women getting this done?
I think some people come in for their regular pap smears. Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of people after they start having kids, or after they stop having kids, rather, they just don't go in as often because it kind of slips their mind. People get busy, and unfortunately, cervical cancer is something that targets women that are in their prime, so women that are between the ages of 30 to 45, 50 years old. Those are the women that usually don't come in for their screening tests because they're healthy women. And unfortunately, those are the ones that if they don't come in might get cervical cancer.
And how often should you be getting these tests done?
So the guidelines are different for every woman, but in general, at age 21 or 3 years after your first sexual encounter, whichever one comes later, you do 3 years of regular testing. And then if everything is normal, you can go down to once every 3 years of testing.
Oh, okay. So that's pretty spread out then once you've flatlined, I guess. And so talk about these clinics. I mean, that's an interesting idea, the idea of having a pop-in clinic to get something like this done. So explain to women how it works and I guess why they should feel comfortable and why they should do this.
So these clinics are run every year. I think a lot of people just don't know that they're out there. And every year around this time to mark National Cervical Cancer Awareness Week, we run clinics. And basically it's for women that don't have a regular family doctor or that just can't make an appointment, just, things have slipped their mind. They pop up once a year, and we run them as resident physicians. So we're used to doing pap smears, we're used to doing pelvic exams. So you can come into any one of the clinics this afternoon and know that you're going to get somebody who is comfortable doing the exam and
will make you comfortable.
Exactly.
So obviously you need to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, cervical cancer, let's talk a little bit about that. How many people does this affect? How many women get cervical cancer?
So last year, they estimated about 1,400 women were diagnosed with a very advanced stage of cervical cancer, and about 400 people died in Canada.
Wow.
So with pap test screening, we can prevent the majority of those. They say about 90% of cervical cancers can be prevented by regular screening.
So important to get it done. Now, there's the correlation between cervical cancer and the HPV vaccine. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so basically the vast majority of cervical cancers are actually caused by the virus HPV, which is the human papillomavirus. And there is a vaccine out there that we try to catch women earlier on before, because about 80% of women in their later years will actually be infected with the virus. The vast majority of people that have HPV don't get cervical cancer. But that being said, if we can vaccinate people before they get HPV, then that's also a great way of preventing it. So the vaccine prevents about 70% of the cervical cancers caused by HPV. But even if you get the HPV vaccine, you still need to get your pap smears.
Yeah. That's an important note right there. Yeah. And the HPV vaccine happens much younger.
Yeah, it's approved right now for ages 9 to 45 in girls and ages 9 to 26 in boys.
Okay, thank you so much for being here this morning. So the big message to get out, of course, is to go and get your pap smear test done. It's important. Prevention and awareness programs for cervical cancer takes place today from 1 to 4:30 at various locations across our city. For more information, you can visit them online at www.fmwc.ca. or find them on Facebook. Plus, there's a list of all the locations. Again, it's the #1 way to prevent cervical cancer. So make sure you go and get those done. Shay, back to you up on the desk.